I have been inspired by women in the field of business and specifically financial services. Um, I I really love to see women in the boardroom, women as CEOs. I'm an entrepreneur myself, and so to see other women doing it, that's really what inspired me to, be in the business discipline and, to be interested in finance and accounting, and then finally to be an entrepreneur myself. So seeing women in the business field is what really inspired me and still inspires me as a woman.
Is kind of looking up to their passion, their determination, their drive, kind of their hunger for success in life. And I want to say those are kind of qualities and characteristics that I kind of take back and I kind of use in my life.
Definitely been inspired by other women, without a doubt. I think women have been incredible in my life. I have incredible role models. And the first person that I automatically think of is my mom, of course. She's just very compassionate and hardworking, and she's definitely instilled those values in me. But my grandmothers have done the same exact thing, and so has my aunt. So I've had 4 very strong women in my life helping raise me, and I can't thank them enough because I am who I am today because of them.
I would say I've been inspired by a lot of the women closest to me, specifically my grandma. Just getting to know her story and how she didn't know that she married a man who was diagnosed with bipolar disorder. And so often she would have to be taking care of children and having to worry about the finances, while some days he would just take up and leave. And it's not to say oh, that was his fault, because it is a mental disorder that he was struggling with, but just to see how resilient my grandma was and that she was able to still keep that positive home environment while keeping all of the pieces together, while they were just falling apart. And she would often say that she would just be like, "Kids, we're going on a road trip, we gotta go find Dad," and she would make it an adventure when often it could be something that would be really looked down upon.
I would say the qualities of other women that make me want to be a better woman are women who are passionate and women who really focus on uplifting each other instead of competing with one another. So being like, "Oh, I love your outfit, you look beautiful," or still having that kind of nurturing and caring side of them.
Actually seeing people talk about their dreams and their goals and how they achieve those dreams make me want to become a better woman within myself.
If I had any advice to give to fellow women, it would be to bring each other up. We're so used to being petty and catty towards each other. Instead of seeing a pretty girl, you see competition. No, that's your sister. If anything, try to bring each other up. So
don't let society or other people define your femininity, and don't be discouraged by society's standards, and always be willing to break barriers and be the leader, be the woman that you need.
Continue to grow, continue to develop, continue to inspire, and never give up. Even if challenges come, you can achieve. For students coming, through the process now and looking for what they want to do, find what you're passionate about, because that's going to make all the difference in the long run.
I think, again, just looking up to other women is so important. Finding mentors that you could appreciate and also see yourself in. I'm lucky that I found that at Eastern. One person that I look to specifically is Alicia McKenzie, who is one of the hall directors here on campus, and she's definitely just been such an inspiration for me. And I think it's great to have someone like that to look up to, especially in a career that you're interested in going to. So yeah, I think finding people that you can relate to and you can be a mentee for is so important. And again, I'm lucky to have found that at Eastern.
Some qualities that really inspire me to be a better woman is definitely, like I mentioned before, strength. For me, being able to get through certain situations in life is very important to me. I've gone through a lot of things in my life that if I didn't have strong women around me to show me the way of how and that I'm capable of doing it, that I'm not sure I would have been able to.
So since my career path right now has led me into the world of academia, academia has been very important to me. Education, I'm very passionate about education, and so one of the things that I always encourage women, you know, whether you're a high school student, whether you just graduated, if you're a freshman or even a senior in college, one of the things I always encourage, you know, all females to do is to pursue an education outside of high school. So, you know, go ahead and get your bachelor's degree, and when you're done with your bachelor's degree, go ahead for your master's degree. Everyone that walks into my office, I always encourage them to pursue a tertiary education. And, you know, even after, again, pursuing your bachelor's degree, go for your master's degree. Education is so important, and I know it sounds cliche, but trust me, you know, I've been there, done it, and I have absolutely no regrets. It's definitely going to catapult you, you know, into your future, into a successful career. So pursuing an education is what I would definitely encourage women to do.
Something I would like to say to fellow women, no matter the age, is to believe in yourself and to know that you can do anything that you put your mind to. And that you're going to need that strength that I've been speaking about, that I admire in other women, to push you and to propel you into the direction that you need to go in, but to understand that you're more than capable of doing it, and you're more than capable of overcoming anything that may be a struggle or may be an issue that you may be facing at that time.
I think now more than ever, I think we need to stay united. I think growing up, you're kind of taught to nitpick at other people, and it's unfortunate because there's strength in numbers, and there's something that we can all learn from each other. And so I think just, you know, working hard with each other, for each other, is so important. You know, and I think that's the number one thing I want to tell people is, you know, there's strength in numbers, and together we got this.
Just continue being the strong woman that you are. Keep putting your best foot forward. Always remember that life gets better no matter how hard it is. Just keep on going.
Despite what may happen in life or wherever you are, whether you're in school, whether you're a mother, whether you're in a relationship, that it'll all be better in the end. And if it's not better, it's not the end.
I've been inspired by other women by their actions. Rosa Parks, 1955, refuses to stand up and give her seat to a white man. She was sitting in the black section of the bus. And she had no authority in terms of a big position. She wasn't a rich or wealthy person with influence. She was just a woman with really strong principles and a core value that said, this is wrong. I deserve to sit in the seat like he does. And she refused to to stand up, and she was arrested. And I always thought, I was very young when I started to read about her, and I was always inspired. I said, isn't it important to have a value, some core value in your being that you will stand up for? Something, and without stomping her feet or screaming, she was unassuming, she was very low-keyed about it, and she changed history. And from that, she is the mother of the civil rights movement, and I feel like, oh my God, everybody has the power to change the world from where they sit. You don't have to be president of the United States, you don't have to be a big CEO, you don't have to have millions of dollars. You can change the world by being true to your values. I love Madeleine Albright. She became the first woman to be Secretary of State. And Madeleine Albright discovered late in her life that she was of the Jewish faith. She was not raised Jewish, and she worked very hard to advance the cause of women in her own way. Again, like Rosa Parks, no stomping her feet, no making big speeches all the time. Although she spoke when she became Secretary of State, she was an eloquent speaker, but it wasn't an aggressive movement that she was, a part of. She was in her own way a very significant speaker for women. And the thing I learned from her was that she always wore a pin on her lapel, and the pins were beautiful and different and kind of way out there, a little edgy, and then they would cause a conversation. So if Kendrick saw the pin, you'd say, oh, that's an interesting pin, and then before you knew it, you were talking about the pin, and she would connect with you. So one of her important contributions to women and to my thinking is that you have to connect to people, that the issue is important, women's rights, the rights for African Americans, for Hispanics, for the dreamers. We all have rights, but in order for you to connect to people who might not think like you have to reach them, on a more personal level so that they can connect to the way that you're thinking. You may not agree with the person at the end of it, but you'll certainly have connected with them in a different way. Women in positions of power, like Katharine Graham was the publisher of the Washington Post, and she took a big chance in the 60s by publishing the Pentagon Papers and exposing Nixon, and her paper was at risk, and she took risks to tell the American people what was really happening in the political scene in Washington. And I think women like Rosa Parks, like Madeleine Albright, like Katharine Graham, you have to be able to take a risk if you believe in something. Sometimes that risk is life-threatening, like in Rosa Parks' situation. She could have been killed by the white cops, or not, like in the case of Madeleine Albright. She was taking risks, but I don't think she would have been, it wasn't as extreme as Rosa Parks, but she was still making change. And Katharine Graham put her entire family's wealth on the line because the paper would have been ruined if that had been a mistake. So I think I've learned from fellow women that you have to take risks. And I've lived my life always on the edge, saying, for the right thing, I will take a risk. I want to begin by thanking Kendrick and M.A.L.E.S, who asked me to sit and talk with him for a few minutes, and I'm honored that I was asked, and thank you to M.A.L.E.S. I also want to thank Media Services, because without them we couldn't do all the work we do at Eastern. Many people contribute their services, and I'm very grateful. And then of course to Professor Matthews, who always is there for the students and is always there to help them increase their skills and to produce videos and to produce good pieces that make a difference at Eastern. So thank you to everyone.
If my answer is silly, because I don't.
We could scratch it.
Start.
You could just stop mid-sentence if you want and restart.
Okay. All right, let me put my thinking cap on.
Oh, we knew we might need to edit that. You sure?
Can we stop?
Sure. That was my favorite. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, no, you're good. That was it.
Qualities that make me become okay, gotta wave that one off.
All right. So is there anything else that you'd like to say to your fellow woman?
Always be prepared when you come for these questions.